Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today we're exploring The Simpsons and their uncanny ability to predict the future. It's like Matt Groening had a crystal ball in his studio. Over 3 decades of satirical humor with glimpses of foreshadowing in elections, pandemics, and tech. The Simpsons hit the nail on the head, decades ahead. Buckle up as we delve into Simpsons Predictions. Let's rewind back to the year 2000, the dawn of the new millennium. Y2K had just finished not destroying the world. Britney Spears and *NSYNC were ruling the pop charts. And The Simpsons, in their infinite wisdom, decided to grace us with an episode titled Bart to the Future. Now, this episode is mostly remembered for its glimpse into a future where Bart is a washed-up middle-aged man and Lisa is the President of the United States. But what really sent chills down everyone's spines was a throwaway line about Lisa inheriting a budget crisis from her predecessor, President Donald Trump. At the time, the idea of Donald Trump as president seemed about as likely as, well, Homer Simpson winning a Nobel Prize. It was a joke, a punchline, a satirical jab at the very notion of a Trump presidency. Fast forward 16 years and the world watched in a mix of disbelief and, let's be honest, a little bit of I told you so, as Donald J. Trump was sworn in as the 45th President of the United States. Suddenly that throwaway line from a cartoon wasn't so funny anymore. It was a stark reminder that sometimes truth is stranger than fiction and that maybe, just maybe, The Simpsons were onto something. Now, some might call it coincidence, a lucky guess, a random dart thrown at the wall of possibilities that just happened to land on the bullseye of reality. But the sheer improbability of it all is enough to make you wonder. The Trump prediction, whether intentional or accidental, cemented The Simpsons' status as pop culture prophets. People started looking back at old episodes, searching for clues, for hints of what the future might hold. Let's jump back to 1995. The internet was new and cell phones were bulky bricks. The Simpsons aired Lisa's wedding, showing a watch that could make calls. This was mind-blowing at a time when calculator watches were high-tech. Little did we know this idea would become reality. By the mid-2000s, Bluetooth headsets were all the rage, allowing us to walk and talk without wires. It was a step closer to that wristwatch dream. In 2010, Apple unveiled the iPad, changing how we consume media. Then came the smartwatch. In 2015, Apple released the Apple Watch, making calls, sending messages, and tracking fitness. What was once a futuristic fantasy was now a reality. The Simpsons had predicted a technological advancement shaping our lives. They imagined it, planting a seed in our collective consciousness. They made us believe such a device was possible. And sometimes that's all it takes to nudge the future. Okay, so this one is just straight up eerie. In a 1998 episode titled When You Dish Upon a Star, there's a quick shot of a sign outside a building. It reads 20th Century Fox, a division of Walt Disney Company. Seems innocuous, right? Just a throwaway gag, maybe. Except fast forward to 2019 and Disney actually acquires 20th Century Fox. I mean, what are the chances? Did the writers have a crystal ball? Were they privy to some top-secret corporate dealings? Probably not, but it's still mind-blowing. This prediction, along with the Trump one, really cemented The Simpsons' status as some kind of pop culture Nostradamus. It makes you wonder, what else did they get right? What other seemingly outlandish predictions might actually come true? The Disney-Fox merger wasn't just some random event. It was a seismic shift in the media landscape, and The Simpsons, whether intentionally or not, called it. This is where things start to get really interesting, because the predictions we've covered so far, while impressive, could be chalked up to coincidence. Now, I'm not saying that Matt Groening and the writers are time travelers, but maybe they are. I'm kidding mostly, but seriously, how do you explain this stuff? It's like they tapped into some kind of collective unconscious, a repository of future possibilities that somehow manifested in their writing. Or maybe it's just a case of really smart writers extrapolating from current trends. After all, Disney was already a media juggernaut in the 90s, and the idea of them acquiring a major studio like Fox, while unlikely at the time, wasn't completely outlandish. Still, you have to admit the accuracy of the prediction is spooky. It's like finding a dusty old book that predicts the internet or smartphones. It makes you question everything you thought you knew about the nature of time, reality, and the uncanny ability of The Simpsons to predict the future. And it gets even weirder, because as we move on to the next prediction, we enter a territory where the lines between satire, social commentary, and real-life events become even more blurred. In a 1997 episode called Lisa's Sacks, Marge tries to encourage Bart to read with a book titled Curious George and the Ebola Virus. Pretty dark, right? Especially considering that Ebola was a relatively obscure disease at the time, mostly confined to outbreaks in remote parts of Africa. Fast forward to 2014 and the world is gripped by the deadliest Ebola outbreak in history. The virus spreads beyond Africa, causing widespread panic and a global health emergency. Suddenly that throwaway gag from The Simpsons doesn't seem so funny anymore. It's important to note that the episode itself doesn't explicitly predict an Ebola outbreak. It's more of a dark joke, a reflection of the anxieties of the time. But the fact that it mentions Ebola at all, years before it became a global concern, is chilling. It's like The Simpsons planted a seed in our collective consciousness, a seed that would later bloom into a very real and terrifying reality. Now, some might argue that this is just a coincidence. After all, Ebola did exist in 1997, so it's not that far-fetched to think that the writers might have heard about it. But the way it's presented in the episode as a children's book title adds another layer of weirdness to the whole thing. It's like they're saying, hey, this thing that seems scary and far away right now, yeah, it might just come back to bite you. And unfortunately, in this case, they were right. The Ebola prediction, unlike the Disney Fox one, isn't about a specific event. It's about a general sense of unease. A feeling that the world is a fragile place where even the most outlandish scenarios can become reality. And as we'll see in the next prediction, this sense of unease becomes even more pronounced as The Simpsons starts to tackle issues like pandemics and social unrest. Okay, buckle up because this one's a doozy. In a 1993 episode titled Marge in Chains, a mysterious virus from Asia sweeps through Springfield, causing widespread illness and chaos. Sound familiar? It gets weirder. In the same episode, there's a subplot about killer bees terrorizing the town. Now replace killer bees with murder hornets, and you have a pretty accurate description of what happened in 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic, which originated in Wuhan, China, sent shockwaves across the globe, leading to lockdowns, economic turmoil, and a collective sense of fear. And as if a global pandemic wasn't enough, 2020 also saw the arrival of murder hornets in North America. These giant insects, known for their painful stings and ability to decimate honeybee populations, sparked widespread panic and a flurry of memes. The Simpsons, once again, seemed to have predicted not one, but two major events that defined 2020. It's enough to make you wonder if the writers have some kind of time-traveling DeLorean hidden away in the animation studio. Of course, there are some differences between the show and real life. The virus in Marge in Chains is spread through contaminated juice boxes, not respiratory droplets, and the killer bees aren't quite as terrifying as the real-life murder hornets. But the parallels are undeniable. The Simpsons captured the sense of panic, uncertainty, and social disruption that characterized both the COVID-19 pandemic and the murder hornet scare. It's like they tapped into some kind of collective anxiety, a premonition of the strange and unsettling times that lay ahead. And as we delve deeper into the world of Simpsons predictions, we'll see that this isn't the last time the show seems to foreshadow real-life events. From economic collapses to technological upheavals, The Simpsons has a knack for holding up a distorted mirror to society, reflecting our deepest fears and anxieties back at us. We've all seen those sci-fi movies where robots become self-aware, right? The Simpsons shows robots taking over jobs and forming unions. It's funny, but also self-driving cars and automated factories are real. AI can write essays now. Are we laughing or nervously sweating about our future with AI? Maybe it's time to think about the ethical implications of AI. The Simpsons brilliantly distills complex issues into relatable, often absurd scenarios. Remember when Mr. Burns replaced workers with robots? It reflects real-world anxieties about automation. Or when Homer creates a sentient toaster. It speaks to our fascination with AI. Technology is a tool. Its impact depends on us. What kind of future do we want with AI? The Simpsons encourages critical thinking about technology. Let's talk about climate change. Even the Simpsons can't ignore it. Springfield faces heat waves, floods, and disasters. Remember the pollution dome episode, or Lisa's global warming warning? It's funny, but hits close to home. The genius of the Simpsons. Complex issues made humorous and relatable. We see ourselves in their flaws. Beneath the satire, a warning, a funhouse mirror urging us to do better. Now, I'm not saying The Simpsons is a documentary. It's a cartoon after all, and it's meant to be entertaining. But there's a reason why these environmental themes resonate so strongly with viewers. We're living them. We see the effects of climate change every day in the news, in our own communities. And it's easy to feel overwhelmed, to feel like our individual actions don't really matter. But The Simpsons reminds us that even small changes can make a difference. Remember when Lisa convinces the town to switch to renewable energy? Or when Homer accidentally becomes a vegetarian and discovers the power of plant-based eating? These episodes show us that change is possible, even in a town as seemingly stuck in its ways as Springfield. It's about individuals making conscious choices, about communities coming together to find solutions. It's about acknowledging the problem and then, instead of burying our heads in the sand or, a giant donut, actually doing something about it. And hey, if a cartoon family can inspire us to think more critically about our impact on the environment, well, that's a good thing, right? Okay, so we've talked about robots taking over and the planet melting down. Fun times, right? Well, The Simpsons also predicted economic collapse. From hyperinflation to stock market crashes, Springfield has seen it all. Remember when Homer bought pumpkins only to have them rot, or when Mr. Burns lost all his money? These scenarios tap into real anxieties about economic instability. The Simpsons forces us to confront these uncomfortable truths. Now, I'm not an economist, and I don't have a crystal ball, though that would be pretty sweet, wouldn't it? But I think one of the reasons why The Simpsons' predictions about economic collapse resonate so strongly is because they reflect a deeper anxiety about the future. We see the struggles of the working class, the challenges of making ends meet, and the feeling that the American dream is increasingly out of reach for many people, and it makes us wonder, what happens if the bottom falls out? What happens if the systems we rely on fail us? The Simpsons, in its own darkly humorous way, explores these anxieties. We see the characters we know and love, or at least love to laugh at, grappling with job loss, debt, and the challenges of navigating a world in economic turmoil. And while the show doesn't necessarily offer any easy answers, because, let's face it, there aren't any, it does encourage us to think critically about the systems we've created and to consider alternative ways of living and being in the world, and maybe, just maybe, that's a start. The Simpsons predicted Trump, pandemics, even Disney taking over the world. But what about AI surpassing human intelligence, self-driving cars and online shopping algorithms, all powered by AI? The Simpsons hinted at this for decades. What happens when machines learn, adapt, and make decisions on their own? It's enough to make you want to unplug your Alexa. But here's the thing about The Simpsons. While they're not afraid to poke fun at our anxieties, they also have a way of making us think. What does it mean to be human in an age of rapidly advancing technology? Are we destined to become slaves to our own creations? Or can we find a way to coexist? The Simpsons holds up a mirror to our fears and forces us to confront them. And hey, if we do end up facing a robot apocalypse, at least we'll be able to say The Simpsons warned us. We've talked about Trump, pandemics, climate change. The Simpsons touch on something more unsettling: the spectre of global conflict. It's not a cheerful topic, but it's always on our minds. Remember, this is The Simpsons. They crank real-world anxieties up to 11, showing tensions between superpowers or accidental nuclear launches. It's not a prediction. It's a funhouse mirror to our fears. They're saying, isn't it messed up we worry about this? And yeah, it is. By laughing, we take back some power. Or maybe I'm overthinking it, but that's the fun of The Simpsons. It's a show that works on multiple levels, and you can never quite pin it down. It's satire, entertainment, and sometimes a glimpse into a future we hope to avoid. And that's where the real brilliance of The Simpsons comes in. They touch on heavy topics: war, famine, economic collapse, without losing humor. It's a balance they've mastered for over 3 decades. Think about it. How many shows make you laugh about a nuclear meltdown, then question reality? The Simpsons are both deeply silly and surprisingly profound. Maybe that's why we keep coming back to these predictions. It's not that we believe The Simpsons are psychic. They tap into our collective anxieties. Episodes make us stop and think. They confront uncomfortable truths. And yeah, it might make us laugh nervously along the way. Let's dive into the world of fan theories. The internet loves a good conspiracy theory, and The Simpsons has no shortage of them. I'm not here to debunk or endorse. The creativity is impressive. Communities dissect episodes for hidden clues. What those clues mean is fascinating. Some focus on specific dates, like the 2025 prediction. It involves global upheaval and alien contact. Where do these ideas come from? Random details from episodes. Is it a stretch? Yes. Entertaining? Absolutely. Fan theories let us engage on another level. We become armchair detectives, connecting dots. Beyond entertainment, there's something deeper at play here. Our anxieties about the unknown draw us to these theories. It's comforting to think someone has it all figured out. Even if it's just a cartoon show, The Simpsons might just be a well-written show, reflecting our fears and making us laugh. Are they predicting the future or reflecting our anxieties? The enduring legacy of The Simpsons is undeniably fascinating. So what do you think? Are The Simpsons just really good at satire, or is there something more to their predictions? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more intriguing content.